Jen,
Hi, Em.
how are you?
I'm doing so great.
It's very snowy here.
It is very snowy.
We've had quite a winter.
Farmer's Almanac, as you've
Hey,
mentioned.
listen, I know this is coming out later, but go Birds.
Go Birds.
Eagles won the
People,
Super Bowl.
they're
We're
going to hear
Philly.
this and be so tired of hearing this at this
Listen,
point.
it's
Actually,
because
maybe not.
someone was like, Philadelphia is its own country.
It's so true.
You cannot possibly describe how horrible and wonderful it is at the same time here.
It's so true. Actually, it's speaking of its own country, I was in a different country during the Super Bowl.
Tell us a little bit about your trip to Portugal.
I went to Portugal. I was in Lisbon, which is like, if you haven't been, such a great city.
If you
Direction.
haven't been,
If you haven't been,
fly on
for
over.
those of you who don't know me, when people start speeches like that.
that's, that's how I start speech.
Yeah, yeah. That's how everyone starts a speech. Okay. For those of you who don't know me. If you haven't been to Lisbon, it's wonderful. But I was there during the Super Bowl. And the coolest thing about it is that, like, anyone who's interested in watching the Super Bowl goes to the same place because it's only a few people.
Because there's one American football
Yes.
bar in the entire place.
Yes. But, like, let me tell you something. When I'm in
What
Philly,
did you Google? America?
I Googled, like, where to watch the Super Bowl. And the time difference is like 5 hours. So I was out till like 4 a.m. watching this. Listen, but when I'm in Philly, I am probably the least enthusiastic Eagles fan. Like, listen, I'm a fan.
What were you like
but
in Portugal?
in Portugal, I was starting Eagles chants. Literally starting Eagles chants. I was the most enthusiastic.
How many people were there?
Yeah, actually, a ton.
What was the general demographic?
I'll send it. Wide range of people.
What was the Eagles versus Chief
demographic
split?
It was hard to say because the Eagles were winning the entire time.
They were.
So you were people were only cheering for the Eagles.
Not a lot of people were wearing red, I guess.
Exactly.
So
like you could not tell, and you would only hear people cheering for the Eagles. So, in my mind, I'm like, oh, everyone's here for the Eagles. But then again, like, no,
who knows,
right? So, but it was very, very cool. I was a little disappointed to like not be in the city during that time, and at the same time,
it's kind of nice.
It's kind of nice.
In the city.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait, really fun before we move on though. What was the coolest thing about your trip?
The coolest thing about my trip. Well, this isn't cool, but I'm going to tell you about this.
Okay.
We went to see a castle in Sintra, which was so beautiful. We went at like 6 o'clock at night. So like we got to watch the sunset.
Classy.
Really classy. On the way up, I get really car sick. So on the way up, I was really car sick because it's a windy road. You're going uphill. And so on the way down, my friend was like, hey, we should just like walk down. It's only 30 minutes. And so we take this walking path down, which ends up being a hiking trail. Mind you, it's 6 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Okay. It is getting dark.
Too late. Yeah.
It's getting dark in the hiking trail. We are sprinting down.
Were you scared?
Terrified. We were so scared. There's no lights. There's no one around. It's not like there were other people on the hiking trail. So we're sprinting down this hiking trail. Eventually, we come across a man, and we both said, never in my life have I been more excited to come across a random man in the woods in the dark.
So this is the real life situation of man versus bear, and you chose man.
I chose man. We said the same thing, right? And that's everyone says bear, but then when you're lost in the woods by yourself in the dark.
But okay, here's my question. But you were with someone else. You were not by yourself.
Right. But still, even with you think
you would have asked him if you were by yourself?
Well, no, I think it was just comforting to see someone.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was. Like we didn't ask him shit. We just screamed.
Oh, I thought, okay.
No, we were just like, yeah, we see someone. You know what I mean? It's like so comforting when you're in the woods alone by yourself. You're not seeing a single soul, single light. Like it is terrifying. And then we saw someone. So it was just relieving to see any sort of life at all. So anyway, I'm alive.
So you made it down.
Story. Yeah.
Was it dark by the time you got down?
Yeah. We were using our phone lights.
Did you say, Jamie, you're a fucking idiot?
Yes. I said, the whole time I was yelling and saying, I'm going to murder you. Like the thought was there, right? She was like, oh, she doesn't want to be nauseous, but at the same time, like, we're going to die. I'd rather be nauseous. Okay.
Yeah, no, I think you take the nausea,
So
right?
my favorite part of the trip was the fact that I lived.
It's a beautiful part. Well, I'm glad you had a wonderful trip, my love.
Thank you. Thank you so
Good. All
much.
right, you ready? What's your favorite Girl Scout cookie flavor? Somebody asked.
You know, this peanut butter patties can't
I
get
know you
enough.
fucking love it.
Fucking
Listen, can I say
love.
something?
Of course you can.
I think Girl Scout cookies suck.
Wow, you get them every year.
Of course I do, because obviously I'm going to
You're
support the
so
Girl Scouts.
supportive.
And listen, I'm just saying, if you lined up a bunch of desserts, I'm not going to choose the Girl Scout cookies,
Right.
right? So if you're asking me my favorite flavor of Girl Scout cookies because I have to eat one, it's
You're
a thin
forced.
mint.
Someone's forcing you.
It's if someone's forcing me, then it's thin mints out of the freezer,
I love Thin Mints
icy
too.
cold thin mints. But like I'm not like, oh, craving Girl Scout cookies.
Right. Yeah, no, same. Also, I have something controversial to say. I feel like they used to be better. Am I wrong?
No, I don't think I have enough
Data.
memory of that. I don't think I was always buying Girl Scout cookies. It's more of like something, and now I have a lot of friends that have kids in Girl Scouts.
I see.
Right. So
Okay.
like, 4 or 5 years ago, I don't think I had the same type of Girl Scout hookups.
Wow, you
Now I
really
have a
do
lot
have
of
the hookup.
hookups. I have
Like,
a lot of
like I'll see Emily during Girl Scout cookie time, and she literally has boxes of Girl Scout cookies like falling out of her car. She's like, "You get a Girl Scout cookie box. You get a Girl Scout."
because every person who asks me, I'm like, of course I'll buy your kids Girl Scout.
It's so nice. See, I would be like not interested. Like so
They're
nice.
like $5 a box. I'm like,
Okay.
yeah, of
Okay.
course. Like,
Also, do you remember? I forget, we must have talked about this on the podcast. And if we did, I'm so sorry. Do you remember when they used to have us sell wrapping paper?
yeah, of course. Yeah. No, that shit was good though.
Is that like an MLM for children? I don't
Yeah.
understand. If you look back on that, tell me that's not an MLM for children.
Well, I feel like also like all of those things, like you buy into like, like jump rope for heart and like, like you did a certain amount of stuff and then you won like a fucking sticker or
I would
something
get like
that's
an
not.
eraser. What were we doing? Like, if you look back on that time, what were we doing? We would have like assemblies to look at these
School
magazines
fundraiser.
to be able to sell. It was like childhood MLMs. I, I'm just,
Wait, can I tell you something really funny?
yeah,
There's so like the local high school near us
yeah.
does like some school fundraiser and it's like these cars that you get and they're like local discounts. So like 10% off at like PJ Willahans and stuff, right? Or some shit like
Fun.
that. But my favorite one that's on there that I've never gotten to use, but I really hope I can one day, is there's 20% off a private investigator service. And I'm
Who
and
are
I
you gonna
bought this $40 card because I was like, at some point, if I need a hookup for a PI, bitch, I'm taking 20% off.
Yeah, listen, you're gonna have the hookup for Girl Scout cookies and the hookup for PI.
I saw this on the card and I was like, immediate purchase.
Who are you gonna
Immediate
use it
purchase.
on?
I eventually want 20% off for the PI.
Who are you gonna use it on?
Oh no, spying on neighbors, not sure. What do you use a PI for? I don't think
I'm not sure, but it does seem
it's
cool.
not to watch my husband cheat. He never leaves the house.
Right, right. That would
My
just be
husband left the
impressive.
house for the first time today to go to the gym. He has not left in 7 days.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. I am your husband, honestly. We are the
So I
same.
married the
I
same
say, oh,
husband.
I say, oh my God, like that. Like,
No,
oh my
well,
God, how
no, except for
crazy.
you go out and get coffee.
I
So
have
you
to.
at least walk 1 block.
Yes, I have to. And I
Yes.
live in Philly, right? I can walk a block, come back. Like
No.
you,
So I don't need a PI because I can just look down the hallway and my husband is there. He's
but
going nowhere.
but I would love to spy on someone if I could just like hop in this like fun excursion with you.
Yeah, listen, I got 20% off.
Cool. I'm
You
booking
know
in.
me. I love a coupon.
Love a discount. You're a coupon queen.
I am a coupon queen. So like I'm in for this. So I did in fact purchase that. So is it an
Okay.
MLM? I'm not sure. But I think the Girl Scouts though, they have to put the money, they're fronting the money for the cookies.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Wow.
I don't think they just like get all the cookies. I think the moms front the money, they buy a certain amount, and then the girls have to sell it. So in theory, wouldn't we also call that an MLM?
Right. I think, listen, everything could be called an MLM.
We've said this before. You know what's an MLM? The therapy world, pyramid
Right.
scheme. You want to know why? You got to pay money to go to grad school. Then you got to pay money to get licensed. Then you got to pay money to become a supervisor or license other people. And then
So
you got to
true.
pay to get certified in other shit. So being a therapist is actually being part of the pyramid scheme.
Right.
And
I
we're
feel like that's
pretty
a lot.
high up
It's a
at this
lot of
point.
things. Yeah.
You know, like we
We're
made it pretty high to
high
the
up in the
pyramid
MLM.
because I feel like we got in early.
Right.
Right. Like sometimes when people say to us, they're like, I should start a podcast. We're like, don't.
Right.
It's over. Like, you know, like a lot of MLM stuff. It's like, it's just like when you get in, right?
Like
you get a
Cutco
lot
knives.
of money on LuLaRoe. Is that what it's called? Those fucking
LuLaRoe.
leggings?
Yeah.
I watched that doc. Oh, did you watch Apple Cider? Did you finish Apple Cider Vinegar?
Yes. So good. So good.
If you have not watched Apple Cider Vinegar, you have to watch this show on Netflix.
So good.
It is so fucking good. It's about early 2000s wellness culture and when Instagram first started, and basically how easy it is to deceive other people and how easy it is for you yourself to fall into wellness culture.
Yeah. And how damaging it can
and how
be.
damaging and especially when you're going through something horrible. And I felt like this a lot, you know, I felt like this in ton with fertility world.
Yeah.
Right. You go and you're looking for understanding and you're looking for help and support and you get a lot of anti-medical stuff. Yeah. Don't do IVF. It kills your body, blah, blah, blah. And then it really gets in your head and you're like, I don't need to do that. I can cure myself through supplements. And if that works for you, that's really lovely.
Yeah.
Except for that, like, I feel like I wasted years of my life doing that.
Yeah.
And then hating myself that it didn't work.
Yeah.
And then finally got to a doctor that was like, yeah, there was literally no fucking supplement that cures endometriosis. Like, we have to use medicine. That's it.
Right.
But it is, yeah.
I feel like they get you at such a vulnerable time too, right?
Well,
like
so many people have been let down by the medical system as it is. It makes complete fucking sense, right?
100%.
Like, I get it. Well, speaking of people being let down, this has absolutely no way to transfer over. So let's talk about people being let up. I don't fucking know. Today's episode, green flags in relationships, underrated signs of a healthy partnership.
Let up.
You like
I love that? I love that so much. People being let up.
Okay.
Green flags. I like this because, you know, we're usually talking about red flags.
Everyone loves talking about red flags. Let's talk about green.
We're missing the green flags and we need to be very aware of them because I think they're easy to miss sometimes.
Yeah. Although right now, red flag, owning a Tesla.
Oof, red flag. Shit. I say shit like I own a Tesla.
Right?
I don't.
Green flag, having a shitty car they paid off 5 years ago to be environmentally friendly and economically smart.
Right. There it is.
Right? We had this idea. I think someone who's responsible with money, really good, underrated sign of a healthy relationship. It's really often that we like someone who has flashy money or flashy stuff. No, man, give me a stingy bitch.
That is actually such a good point, right? Like where someone's trying to like woo someone on the first date or
love bombing.
Exactly.
I want someone with appropriate boundaries, right?
Right.
But it's not sexy, right? It's not as sexy as somebody like being like, oh, I'm going to marry you. And oh, like our first date, you're the one for me. As opposed to someone like, oh, I really need to get to know you for a while.
Another thing, and tell me what you think, but like an underrated sign of a healthy kind of first date thing is asking like the hard-hitting questions from the beginning.
Do you want to have kids?
What's
your feelings around religion?
Yeah, like tell me about something like what are the things you value in relationships? I think sometimes people be like, whoa, that person came on way too strong.
Disagree. That's healthy.
Disagree. I think that's very healthy. Helps you really get to know the person, not waste time.
Yeah. It's hard because a lot of stuff that is very healthy is not super sexy.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. 100%. So I think we could break this up into like some categories, right? Like some underrated green flags at the beginning and then underrated green flags within the relationship.
Yes.
You know?
Okay. So holding appropriate boundaries.
Yeah.
Right. So like so often. All right. So here's such an embarrassing. I just wanted to say I've said a lot of embarrassing things on the show. This one might be the most embarrassing though.
Well, I am so excited.
All right. So, you know, speaking of MLMs, Scholastic Book Fair, etc., going to Spencer's Gifts, I was a poster girl. in high school. Like I had a lot of posters on my wall. Okay.
I could totally see that.
Could you
Honestly,
see that with me? I had
not
a lot of
shocking. Not
posters on my
shocking at
wall.
all. Yeah.
One of which, oh God, I cannot believe I'm ever admitting this,
I'm so scared.
was a poster of Marilyn Monroe that said, if you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. Which one? Did she even say that? Probably not.
Red flag. I'm waving the red flag.
Immediate red flag. But listen, that was like the culture. Do you remember that quote? Like that was like a big quote.
Yes.
Posters.
Yes.
I definitely got it from Spencer's Gifts.
Definitely.
You know, I'm
fun.
talking about in the
Spencer's
back,
Gifts.
like with the
Yes.
neon lights towards the back. You know,
Yeah.
you're flipping through. Okay. If you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. And as a young woman, I genuinely thought that was appropriate, healthy behavior.
Right.
As long as you let me be as crazy as fucking possible, then you get the good parts. Not at all true.
That is such a good example.
Right?
Yes.
Like,
such a good
like
example.
a really healthy green flag is having appropriate relationships. Hey, I see you're really upset right now. And you cannot speak to me that way.
Yeah.
You cannot treat me that way. You cannot call me 50 times in a row.
You're making that face, I assume, because at one time,
well, if you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best.
You were asking someone to handle you at your worst. That's just my guess.
Because that was like actual messaging I read and believed.
Yes. Well, I think a lot of that, right?
Yes.
There's a lot of like, you're not allowed to have appropriate boundaries. Like, then you don't accept me in some way.
Yeah.
So that's such a good example.
Let's never talk about this again.
But I'm going to bring this up as much as
you
possible.
And everyone listening, let's make an agreement right now.
A gentleman's agreement. No one's ever
gentleman's agreement.
No one.
Like for some reason, that like you know what I thought? That was like a big fucking quote.
Yeah, yeah.
I believe it was definitely in my AAM profile.
That also doesn't surprise me. I think I had like a Dave Matthews quote or something stupid.
Yeah, I think I had that and like a Jason Mraz, like, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Yeah,
One
yeah.
of those. Another underrated sign of a healthy partnership that I think, and this is kind of like farther into the relationship, I think, or maybe not, could be at the beginning, like taking time to regulate your own emotions when you're in an argument, like taking space walking away, right? And I think so often when someone's anxious in the relationship and they're looking to solve something, for the two of you to be able to take some space and regulate your own emotions and then come back together and talk about it, it's actually a really healthy sign. Yeah. Because your ability to regulate your own emotions is like very, very important. Another thing is both of you being able to maintain your own individuality within the relationship.
Yeah.
Right? Like having your own stuff, having your own friends, hobbies, connections, whatever that is. And I think we're fed a lot of that like codependency messaging, right? Like you complete me.
Yes.
Right?
There's so much codependency messaging.
Yes. And so
and you have to remember, I also think that there is a historical timeline of this, and the fact that women weren't allowed out of marriages.
Right. Right.
Right. I mean, divorce hasn't been around forever. Like you couldn't just like leave a marriage because it wasn't working. And you couldn't really have rights and you couldn't really leave, right? Like walking away wasn't always a thing. So I think that like we have this a cultural influence of codependency, but also there was a historical influence of like,
and women also like resource wise didn't have jobs, yes. Right? Like they were set. And so they couldn't leave the relationship. Like even if divorce was there, they couldn't actually leave the relationship because of resources.
Yeah. And when there's such a power difference in a relationship in a patriarchal culture like that, walking away for many people is not an option.
Right. And so that's interesting, just thinking about it in that way, that like all of these messages have kind of been like passed down generations. Yeah. And there was a time in which.
Where did they even start with? Yeah.
Right. Where did it start? And there was a time in which maybe like it was healthier in the relationship to, say things in this way.
Yeah. Like, well, it's how you survive a relationship, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, So that's
I mean, when you don't
interesting.
have choice,
Right.
you live in delusion. What other, you know what I mean? Like, is that a
Or
way to
it's you live
survive?
in, right, you live in like, how do I manage this? Like, what's
Yes.
the best way to manage this?
Yeah. And so you
And
figure out some
choice,
way to do it.
yeah. And now choice is like so much more
Yeah.
possible.
Yes. So,
Fortunately.
okay. So underrated signs of healthy relationship. Your partner sets boundaries. They go to therapy. They walk away. They self-regulate. Co-regulation is wonderful, but we want someone to have both skills as well. Um, they're able to self-regulate so they can co-regulate with you. I can walk away and take care of me so that I can take a few minutes and come back and help regulate you as well, right? So it's not just I do it to walk away.
Yeah.
It's I do it so I can also be able to be closer to you. That's the entire point of boundaries, is to actually protect relationships and protect
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. I also think a willingness to grow and change is like a pretty, healthy sign of a relationship. I forget what I was watching or listening to. It was someone saying, oh, maybe it was Love is Blind, just came out. um, but
I'd love to hear this really healthy example. Please
no,
tell me more.
no, I'll tell you, it actually wasn't like in my mind as I was listening to this. I was like, that's not always true. They were like, the reason why Love is Blind is important is because your looks change over time, but like who you are as a person doesn't change, which is
Not
like
true.
not true, right? And
I get the
and
theory.
I get the theory, and like, yes,
Looks definitely change.
your soul is the same. However, the thought that you as a person or your partner will not grow and change over time, I think keeps the relationship really stuck.
Yeah.
And then you hear couples come in and say, well, they're not who they were when we first met. Of course they're not. You've gone
Yeah.
through so much together. So I think that's an underrated sign of a healthy partnership is like your ability to grow and change and adjust, adapt to each other over time. Like adaptability, I think is really important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think so often we hold on so strongly to like, this is who I met and this is who they are.
Yeah.
And so your ability to grow and change and like adapt to things, I think
Yeah.
is really
Okay, I
important.
have a controversial one.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm excited.
Green flags. Look, everyone's dating someone. They're willing to talk smack of their own family. And I'm not saying they're willing to have awareness, right? If you have someone who's like, oh, my family's perfect, that's a red flag to me.
Yeah,
Your family is not perfect. Nobody's family is perfect, right?
right,
Someone's able to say, like, my mom's a little bit crazy and me and my brother go at it, but like, I really love them. We're really close. That's great.
right.
So, someone who has awareness and honesty with relationships, I would say is a really important red flag, green flag for me. I'm sorry.
Well, it's almost like you're speaking to like a level of like family loyalty, right? And how that would play out in the relationship
The
in
concern for
general.
me would be if someone who has blind family loyalty is that
Yeah,
brings us back to what we call rubber fence boundaries,
right,
where it looks like you can be part of the family, but often you aren't accepted in.
right.
So I
Exactly.
think it's great if someone's close to their family. I think that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Um, but I would say, like, oh, what's the stuff that works about your family? What's the stuff that doesn't work about your family? What do you want to take from your family? What do you want to leave behind?
Yeah, just like blind loyalty is something
Yes.
that,
Yeah,
yes.
that would be a red flag for me. So I would look for the other
I
order.
like the way, I honestly like the way you put it though. Talk shit on their
I
family.
said talk smack. I didn't curse.
So
I
wow,
said talk smack.
wow.
I'm almost a mother of two now.
You are a classy lady. You said smack. Wow. All right, should we get into more questions? We're just
Mhm.
like going hard at this one. I have my first golden retriever partner, and I don't know how to handle all the green flags. So
I don't have
nice.
anything to say. This is just really cute.
That's
I
adorable.
really like the golden retriever idea.
Me too.
I
I
think it's a
love it.
very cute concept. Yeah.
Okay, I
I think
actually
my
just,
husband's a golden retriever dog.
you think?
No, he's a cat.
Yeah. Okay, wait. Here's my question for you. Ready? This is a fun game. If I were a dog, what kind of dog would I be? I just had this
You
conversation.
would be a cat
Right.
too.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, you wouldn't be a dog.
That's so nice.
You're not a dog.
I'm
What
taking
would
that
I
as a
be?
compliment. You would be a sheepdog. You are your dogs. Specifically Dolly.
Yeah, sheepdogs are funny because they're assholes, but they're also incredibly cute and cozy.
Right.
But they're also
And like so excited to see you.
So excited to see you, but also then they're fucking dicks.
Right.
Yeah. And like and also like they're like herding dogs. So they like take care of their own pack.
Yes.
They're very loyal. I would be a sheepdog. You'd be a cat.
I'll take it.
You're not actually interested in people.
Right. I just want to hibernate and lay and sleep. Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go, cat. Okay. So ready? Green flag for my current partner. Early on, I'd get anxious to see him, but immediately felt safe and calm once I was with him. I've never felt that before.
That's so nice.
That's
these are just like really flag. Lovely. Yeah, these comments. Are lovely. Yeah.
How to spot the difference between emotional green flags and codependency? So I think codependency looks more like love bombing, not appropriate boundaries.
Well, right. Well, also, I'm so sorry. I just need more information on this question. Okay, sometimes we have to like
have it. So you want to make a fucking assumption there, Jennifer? We don't got shit.
I don't like like making assumptions. Let me think for a second. Emotional green flags and codependency.
Yeah, take your time.
Like, because codependency, I think of like an emotional green flag as being more so like interdependent.
Yes.
Right. Where like you don't have to rely on the other person to take care of you in order to like, right. You know what I mean? Like you can come in of the relationship and go out of the relationship in a way that's healthy, kind of like how we described it before. Sometimes I think when
it's the idea of like the growing alongside together as opposed to growing together
intertwined.
Like yeah.
Exactly.
Well, if you see this, our hands are
showing. Yeah, if you go on YouTube.
Yes.
But I think here's my assumption of the question is that the thought of the emotional green flag is that the person jumps to like be the savior in the situation, right? If you're upset about something, I have to be the one to take care of you.
Yeah.
Right? I have to make it better. I have to fix in some way. That is codependency, where someone's like, I'm getting something out of this because I'm the fixer. And if I'm not able to fix this, then I'm going to feel bad. Like I'm getting something out of fixing this in some way. That I would see more so as codependency. So,
yeah,
an emotional green flag is, someone wants to be supportive of you, but you feeling better or feeling good in some way, doesn't change anything for them, right? Like it's not, their feelings aren't dependent on like you changing an emotion or them being the savior. That's the way I'm going to make the assumption. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think about it, for me, it's really important that people have their own lives.
Yeah.
Right. So like I want a partner to have hobbies and a career and family and friends and all of those things. And that doesn't mean I shouldn't be made a part into that life. And it doesn't mean they shouldn't be able to also include parts of my life. But I don't want someone to stop being who they are for me because I feel like that's going to probably lead to resentment or someone being on their best behavior. So here's an example. Somebody else wrote in, how can you tell if someone's on their best behavior at the beginning or if it's actually who they are? If somebody all of a sudden changes all this shit in their lives, like, oh, I usually go to hockey every Sunday, but of course I'll start watching The Bachelor with you. I don't know when The Bachelor airs.
Monday
but
nights,
is it Sundays?
It's fine. No, it's Mondays.
Okay, well, I tried my best. I usually go to hockey on Mondays, but I'll start watching. To me, that seems so nice.
Yeah.
I disagree.
Right.
That is not sustainable. And at the beginning, I get it. You're like liking someone, it's groovy, it's working, you want to do everything together. But I want you to have your own life.
Yeah. Also, what I would say is like the beginning, right? We talk about the honeymoon period, right? Like your hormones are just raging, right? Like you're having this honeymoon period. And I think this idea too of like that's not who they are is like the way your relationship is in that moment is going to change. And it doesn't mean that they're not on their like best behavior in some way. It's just the relationship is going to change. So I think the question is like, how drastically does it change?
Yeah.
How drastically does your interaction change? Like you're going to hit bumps in the road. Things are going to change over time. It's just natural that happens. But I think when it changes, there's a lot of insecurity that can be brought up in that transition period of like, what's going on? Do they like me? Are they different? Am I different? So just number one, just the preparation for that transition. Cause so many,
Yeah.
you go through that. That's a natural point. Um, but you, you don't necessarily have to attribute it to who they are is different. If there's such a drastic change, right? And there's
Hmm.
no ability to work through it, then that's right. So I would say, like, how drastic is the change? How drastic is the communication change? Like, can you work through troubles together? What does your communication look like when you go
Yeah.
through that transition?
All right, we have time for one more.
Wow.
I really like this question, so I'm going to choose this one.
Okay.
Can you apply this to a healthy partnership with an employer? Hard to go from a toxic boss to an emotionally regulated boss. I think that's very interesting. I think one of the things that'll happen is when you are going from a toxic relationship, whether it is romantic, platonic, work, you're not going to believe someone when they're emotionally regulated. So what that might mean is you hyperfixate on certain things they say. You try to make assumptions. You try to perform. You are highly anxious when they say no or when they set a boundary because you read into it and you take it as something to prepare for battle for. So I think the hardest part is this is your personal work to do of emotional regulation.
Or you don't bring things up, right? Like you hide things because
Yeah,
the
avoidance.
way that when you would bring it up in the past, maybe you got a bad reaction, maybe. So, just as if you were to bring old stuff into a new healthy relationship, like romantic relationship or friendship, you want to be conscious of that in
Mm-hmm.
your work relationships too, right? What am I bringing into this relationship from my past experience with an employer? Is that something I want to be very conscious of, right? Because when you start bringing that mistrust in to the relationship, then your employer might feel that too.
Yeah,
Um, so you just want to be very conscious of what you're bringing into that employer employee relationship from the beginning.
yeah,
Um, just be aware of it. Am I not bringing this up because of my past stuff or something that's like present in our relationship now?
yeah. All right, you ready for Dear Em and Jen?
I'm ready. You want me to read it?
Oh, that'd be lovely.
Dear Em and Jen, I'm a grad student studying to become a therapist who greatly benefits from your show. Much love.
Oh,
So nice. Throughout the licensure process, I cannot help to ask myself this incredibly daunting question. To what degree is becoming a therapist simply a trauma response? Oh, I love this. Hear me out. I understand that some say our greatest talents and abilities come out of traumatic experience. It's true in many ways. I grew up with a mother who was incredibly emotionally reactive and unpredictable. She was unable to hold space for her own emotions, let alone any of her family members. I became the codependent caretaker of her emotions and consequently, many of my other family members. I am amazing at listening and holding space for others. I worked hard to balance this out with taking care of my own needs to ensure it's not self sacrificing, a work in progress. But what if I finally get to that true sense of balance and realize I don't actually want to caretake others' emotions anymore? What if my career purpose is doing something that only serves me? And any and all thoughts welcome. Sincerely, trauma formed therapist. I love this.
God, this is so good.
It's
Okay, here's what I have to say. I do think the beginning, choosing to go into the field is a trauma response.
yeah.
That does not mean it's also not a healthy calling. And let me
Yes.
explain that. At the beginning of your career, you were really obsessed with fixing people and making it better for them and being successful. And I'm going to tell you that 10 years into your career, you don't feel that anymore.
Yeah.
You get really good at holding space for people, but not enabling behavior, being honest with people, creating loving boundaries for people. So I think going into this field probably is a trauma response, but it does not mean it is. Listen, I don't think anything we do in life is selfless.
Right.
I don't think humans are fully able to be selfless. Even if you do, like, let's say I do a bunch of charity work, it still feels good. I still get something out of it, right?
Right.
Like, I don't, same thing with motherhood, right? Like, I don't do it because I'm this amazing fucking woman. It makes me feel really good too, right? So, like, I don't believe that any of us are selfless creatures.
Right.
You know who's selfless? Dogs.
Oh, the best. We don't deserve them.
Right? But like humans, absolutely not.
Right.
So I think it's true. You say, so what if I finally get the true balance of purpose and realize I don't actually want to caretake others' emotions? You will. And then you'll stop. Because being a therapist is not just caretaking others' emotions. And then you'll have to figure out, what kind of therapist am I from that? And then you'll have a whole other transition in your career. And you'll develop and grow in a whole other way as a therapist.
And if you're in a good grad program, and something that's essential is that you, as the therapist, are consistently doing your own self of the therapist work. You're going to therapy, you're taking care of yourself, you're understanding what you're bringing in to that room, because it's so essential that that process happens, and it does happen over time. It
Yeah.
really does. I mean, we have a practice with over 40 therapists at this point. We see new clinicians come into the field. We have supervisors, they get trained, and we watch that incredible process happen, right? Where it's going from, well, I want to make sure that this person's okay, and I want to take care of this person. And
it fucks you up every time.
It fucks you up every
you
time.
watch the transition and growth people go through, and you're like, oh man.
Yeah.
Like,
we've been there.
And it can hurt.
Yeah.
And it can be really jarring and really daunting. And I think one of the reasons I really gotten more into like RLT as an adult, as
Yeah. You're an adult
like
now.
grew up as like, a more advanced clinician, is because I didn't find like it was the coddling caretaking part.
Yeah.
I felt like it was attunement, tracking, accountability.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I want to help people do. That's what I didn't have enough of. And so I think you're going to change. So even if there's one reason you went into this field, you're going to discover a whole bunch of different reasons why you stayed.
And those traumatized,
and it's going to transition.
And those traumatized parts of you, right? They're going to be brought up.
Yeah.
And you can look at them and say, well, what do I need in order to take care of those traumatized parts? It's not about what my clients need to take care of my traumatized parts, so what I need to do in that therapy room so that my traumatized parts feel, so that I work through that. It's, what do I need outside of the therapy room to take care of those traumatized parts so that I can better show up for my clients and be there for my clients. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Shrink Chicks.
We'll see you back here next week for another session.
In the meantime, if you want a question answered or a topic discussed, follow us on Instagram at ShrinkChicks. And if you're looking to get connected with a therapist like us to start or continue your therapeutic journey, visit thetherapygroup.com. Just fill out a contact form on our website, and we will personally match you with one of our amazing therapists. And for all of our therapists and group practice owners out there, we also offer group practice consulting.
And if you're looking to support yourself further and support our show, check out our amazing merch options at shrinkchicks.com/merch and our Know Yourself, Grow Yourself journal on Amazon. Also, if you'd be so kind, we'd love a rating, review, and for you to share with a friend or an enemy or a mother-in-law, honestly, whoever needs it, so that we can keep reaching more people on our mission to bring mental health topics to your ears every week.
Thanks for being here with us. And don't forget, to grow yourself, you got to know yourself.